I used to have a name that meant something beautiful. Naomi. It meant pleasant, gentle, full of joy. People used to say my name with smiles. Back then, I thought my life would always be warm, simple, blessed. I had a husband. I had 2 sons. And I thought suffering was something that happened to other people. Not to me, not to our family. But life has a strange way of arriving quietly before it destroys everything you planned. It started with hunger, a famine. The fields dried up. The skies stopped giving rain. And slowly, fear entered our home. I remember the look in my husband's eyes at night. Elimelech. He tried to act strong for me, but I could see it. That silent panic men carry when they feel powerless. We had no choice. We left Bethlehem. The house where laughter once lived became empty behind us. And we walked toward Moab, a foreign land, a place that never truly felt like home. I told myself it was temporary, just until things get better. Isn't that what people always say before life changes forever? At first, we survived. My sons grew older. They laughed again. For a moment, I thought maybe God had not forgotten me. Then, suddenly, everything collapsed. My husband died. Just like that. No warning. No dramatic final speech. One day he was there. The next day, I was a widow staring at silence. Do you know what grief feels like? People think grief is loud crying, but the deepest grief is quiet. It's waking up in the middle of the night and reaching for someone who no longer exists. It's hearing footsteps outside and forgetting for half a second that they will never come home again. After Elimelech died, I still had my sons. And sometimes, that's how hope survives. Barely. Through tiny threads. Through the people still breathing beside you. Years passed. My sons married Moabite women. Orpah and Ruth. I loved them both, more than they probably realized. Our little broken family tried to become whole again. But suffering had not finished with me. No, not even close. Then, death came back, like a thief who remembered my address. And this time, it took both my sons. Both! Can you imagine that kind of silence? A mother is not supposed to bury her children. There are pains so deep that language cannot carry them. I remember sitting there, unable to breathe properly. I remember feeling angry when the sun rose the next morning. How dare the world continue? How dare rare birds still sing. Everything inside me had turned into ashes. 3 widows, 1 empty house. And me, standing in the middle of it, wondering if God himself had turned his face away from me. People love talking about faith when life is easy. Faith during abundance is simple. But faith during loss? That is a different thing entirely. That kind of faith limps, bleeds, cries in darkness. I heard that the famine in Bethlehem had ended. Bread had returned. Life had returned. So I decided to go home. But honestly, I wasn't returning as the same woman. The Naomi who left years earlier was gone. Buried somewhere between graves and unanswered prayers. I told my daughters-in-law to stay behind. Go back, I said. Find new husbands. Build new lives. What future could I possibly offer them? I was old, empty, broken. Orpah cried, and eventually she kissed me goodbye. I do not blame her. Not everyone is called to walk into suffering with you. But Ruth held on to me. I can still hear her voice. Where you go, I will go. Your people will be my people. Your God will be my God. Even now, those words break me. Because when I had nothing left to give, love still stayed. Do you know how powerful that is? To be loved when you feel unlovable? To not be abandoned when your life has become heavy? Ruth followed me back to Bethlehem. 2 widows walking dusty roads with nothing except grief and fragile hope. When we arrived, people stared, whispered, "Is this Naomi?" I heard the shock in their voices. And honestly, I understood. I barely recognized myself, too. I looked at them and said, "Do not call me Naomi. Call me Mara, bitter, because the Almighty had dealt bitterly with me. I left full and came back empty." That was how I truly felt. Empty. And maybe some people judged me for saying it aloud. Religious people often become uncomfortable when someone speaks honestly about pain. They want neat answers, clean faith, pretty testimonies. But suffering is rarely pretty. Sometimes faith sounds like crying. Sometimes faith sounds like confusion. Sometimes faith sounds like, "God, where were you?" Ruth began gathering leftover grain in the field so we could survive. Piece by piece, scrap by scrap. That's how healing often begins. Not with miracles falling from heaven, but with small mercies, tiny provisions. One day at a time. Then came Boaz, a kind man, a good man. I noticed the way he looked at Ruth. Not with selfishness, not with lust, but gentleness, respect, something rare in this world. And for the first time in a long time, I felt something dangerous growing inside me. Hope. Hope is terrifying after suffering. Because once you've lost everything, you become afraid to believe again. Afraid life will take it away again. But slowly, God began rebuilding what pain had destroyed. Not all at once, not dramatically, quietly, like sunrise. Boaz redeemed our family. Ruth married him. And then, a child was born. I held that baby in my arms, and suddenly, the emptiness inside me cracked open. People around me rejoiced. They said my life had been restored. But what they didn't understand was this. The greatest miracle was not that my circumstances changed. The miracle was that somehow, after all the grief, my heart still had the ability to feel warmth again. I used to think God only loved people he protected from suffering. Now I know better. Sometimes God stays silent through storms we do not understand. And sometimes we mistake silence for absence. But looking back now, I can see him in places I missed before. In Ruth refusing to leave me, in daily bread, in unexpected kindness, in survival itself. You know something strange about pain? It changes your eyes. Before suffering, I believed blessings meant abundance. Now, I understand blessings can look like simply having enough strength to stand another day. I used to think broken people were weak. Now, I think broken people are the ones who truly understand compassion. Because once your own heart has shattered, you become softer toward the shattered hearts of others. There are still nights when I remember the graves. Still moments when I think about Elimelech, about my sons. Pain never fully disappears. People lie about that. Some wounds become part of your soul. But healing does not mean forgetting. Healing means learning that sorrow and joy can exist in the same heart, at the same time. And perhaps that is what life truly is. Not endless happiness, not endless suffering, but grace carrying us through both. If you're listening to my story while carrying your own grief, hear me carefully. There were moments I thought my story had ended in darkness. I truly believed I had nothing left, but I was wrong. Sometimes God is still writing, even when all you can see is the broken page. And maybe right now, you feel empty too. Maybe you feel abandoned. Maybe life has taken more from you than you think you can survive. I understand that feeling more than most. But please listen to an old woman who once renamed herself bitter. Your story is not finished. Even in loss, love can still find you. Even in ruin, hope can still grow. And sometimes, the most beautiful chapters of life begin after everything else has fallen apart.
I once had a home beneath Bethlehem skies, laughter in the morning light shining in our eyes, a husband beside me, 2 boys running free. I thought pain belonged to someone else, not me. But the fields turned empty, the rain never came. Fear walked through our doorway and nothing stayed the same. So we left our homeland with trembling hearts in hand, searching for tomorrow in a dry and foreign land. And I pray, God, don't let me disappear. But silence was the only thing I'd hear. So call me Mara, don't call me Naomi anymore, 'cause the woman who left here before is not the same soul standing at your hope is born.